What if Africa was converted before it was conquered? What if the greatest theft from Africa was not gold, but God? What if millions pray today in names the ancestors never knew? These questions open a tense exploration into the claims of Joshua Maponga III, a Zimbabwean thinker challenging the legacy of colonial religion. This is not just a historical inquiry, it is a living debate shaping Africa's future identity. So, who is Maponga? Born in 1973, Joshua Maponga was trained as a Seventh-Day Adventist church pastor at Andrews University in 1991. By 1998, he had relocated to the United Kingdom, where his career expanded beyond ministry into media, education, and social thought. He became a TV presenter, a social entrepreneur, and later CEO of the Institute of Farmers of Thought. Through platforms like One Gospel TV and his widely followed Farmers of Thought seminars, Maponga reached tens of thousands across Africa and the diaspora. His lectures, including provocative titles like Africans Don't Need Religion, We Need Memory, have gained traction on YouTube and other social media platforms, positioning him as a bold critic of colonial legacies. You see, to many, he is a fearless voice awakening African consciousness. To others, he is deeply controversial. His Pan-African decolonial theology has drawn both admiration and sharp criticism. In 2020, the Southern African division of the Seventh-Day Adventist Church excommunicated him, accusing him of promoting dangerous theology, including statements rejecting Western portrayals of Jesus. Maponga, however, defines himself differently as a bishop serving Africa's spiritual identity beyond Western control. You see, Africa before Christianity and Islam, long before foreign religions arrived, Africa was home to complex structural spiritual systems. In West Africa, the Yoruba people worshipped a supreme creator known as Olodumare or Olorun, an omnipotent but distant deity. Beneath this supreme force existed hundreds of Orishas, each representing aspects of divine power through systems like Ifa, divination, guided by Babalawo priests. Yoruba spirituality organized life, morality, and healing. Mythologies from Obatala's creation stories to trickster tales like Anansi preserved ethical codes and cosmology understanding. Among the Akan of present-day Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, their beliefs centered on Nyame, a sky god, alongside Asase Ya, the earth mother. Lesser deities known as Abosom governed natural forces, rivers, lakes, forests. Their worldview emphasized balance, ancestry, and moral order. Symbols like Akan and practices such as liberation included philosophical ideas about life, justice, and continuity. Further south, the Zulu honored uNkulunkulu as creator but placed profound emphasis on ancestors. Amadlozi, who actively guided the living through rituals, sacrifices, and work of sangomas. Spiritual life remained deeply communal. Morality was not abstract, it was enforced through ancestral presence and cultural continuity. And in ancient Egypt, over 3,500 years ago, religion had already reached remarkable complexity. A vast pantheon, including Ra, Horus, and Isis, governed existence, while Pharaoh served as the divine intermediary tasked with maintaining Ma'at, the cosmic balance of truth, justice, and order. Temples like Karnak stood as sacred centers of rituals and governance, while mummification and elaborate burial systems reflected a sophisticated understanding of life, death, and the afterlife. So, across the continent, these systems were not primitive fragments. They were coherent theologies. They included supreme beings, structured priesthoods, moral laws, and scientific knowledge spanning astronomy, medicine, and metaphysics. So Christianity and Islam did not introduce spirituality to Africa, they encountered it. The turning point came with colonial expansion. European conquest did not begin with guns alone. It often began with missionaries. Bibles before bullets was not just a metaphor, it was a method. Missionaries arrived first, introducing not only religion but also language, education, and cultural value aligned with European dominance. In places like Nigeria, British missionaries built schools where Christianity and English education were taught side by side. The legacy is still visible today. In Kenya and across East Africa, early Western education systems were designed largely so Africans could read the Bible and internalize Christian doctrines. Indigenous beliefs were systematically delegitimatized. African gods were labeled as demons. Rituals were banned. Sacred practices were renamed or erased. Converts were often required to abandon their traditional names for biblical or European ones, severing ties to lineage and ancestry. As a writer, Ngugi wa Thiong'o famously observed, the bullet was the means of physical subjugation. The Bible represented the spiritual subjugation. Religion became a tool of restructuring identity. Colonial schools suppressed indigenous languages and knowledge systems. Chiefs gained power by aligning with missionaries. In apartheid South Africa, even theology was weaponized, with some clergy justifying racial hierarchy through church or Christian doctrine. Resistance did emerge during Zimbabwean's liberation struggle. Some fighters deliberately adopted names like Judas Iscariot or Satan, symbolic acts rejecting the colonial church's authority. In the end, the fusion of empire and religion reshaped not just belief systems but language, education, and self-perception. African spirituality was not simply replaced, it was reframed as inferior.